I'm Rhiannon Mount, and I was the director for A Friend in Need. But scratch that, I was basically everything for A Friend in Need. Along with directing, I was also the boom operator, the sound mixer, the camera operator, the director of photography, as well as the grips, my own best boy. I was also the writer. Film making and TV is really difficult even when you have a crew. To be a one-man filmmaker or a one-woman filmmaker all by yourself making short films, especially in college when you're still learning how to do it, it's really, really difficult. For this short film, I always had the idea for the script, but I never went through the motion of making it. Even when I was still like an on-campus student, I never actually put it into motion. So I originally got the idea for A Friend in Need while I was an on-campus student. So I would sit there and I would just think of ideas of, little projects we could do inside our apartment. And that was kind of the idea that formed around A Friend in Need. So I kind of had this idea floating around in the back of my head, and then this assignment came up of write a script, get actors to do it, direct those actors, and then edit it later on. And I said, I already have a whole idea for that. I already have a whole plan, so let me go through with it. Being an online student is really difficult. Being an on-campus student is so much easier because you're working with a whole team like you would be out in the field. So for as much as I complain about that, since I've gotten home, I've had so much help and so much support from people that don't know a thing about film and TV. I first and foremost like to think of myself as a camera operator, so I say, great, you sit there, I'm going to do all the work. It's made for some very fun moments with the family, and it's made for some very frustrating moments with the family, but this project was nothing but fun. From the very beginning of writing it, I was hanging out with my best friend, and she and her brother were literally like sitting in the living room playing games, and I went over and I was like, I need to write a script, and I can't do it at my house. I'm too distracted, so I'm going to sit here and write the script and bounce ideas off of you guys. Credit Andrea and Will as like assistant writers or whatever, because the entire time I was writing the script, the main bulk of it, they were there like giving me tips, giving me, that doesn't sound like someone would actually say that. I want my scripts to feel authentic. I want them to feel like an actual conversation. So when I'm sitting there as the writer and before I'm even as the director, I'm going, okay, how would this conversation take place? How do we get in this situation? I've never been a director before this project, but even as the director, I was still sitting there like thinking about the characters and like definitely overthinking it. The definition of overthinking, that's what I was for this project. I'm sitting there saying, okay, so how do the characters know each other? And for the longest time, like, they didn't even have names. And then I was like, well, what if I give them funny names? And then I'm like, but how do they know each other? So I was stuck on that for a while, and I was like, why are they friends? When did they become friends? So even though I'm sitting there writing, I'm still writing out the dialogue, but the entire time I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what is the motivation for these characters? Like, how am I going to motivate my actors for this, or my actresses? I like to use the word actor. I don't think it matters that much, but I'm sitting there writing out these lines of dialogue with just character 1, character 2, and I was like, all right, let's name the sad character Olivia, because she needs to learn how to live. She needs to learn how to motivate herself. And that was the another stump that I was stuck on. So I was like, okay, why is Olivia sad? So she's had this best friend since forever. She's had, they went to high school together, now they're in college, but we don't need to involve that much detail. They're in this, they're doing that, whatever, just building all of these things in behind the script. Like, it's never talked about, it's never addressed, it's not important to the actual film, but all of these little details that make it feel more unique to me. And one of those details, when we actually decided to film, how do I make my room messy without making it look fake? Because a lot of times as students, we work so hard to do things, you can tell that it's just artificial. So I didn't want to, put clean clothes everywhere and say, okay, it's messy. And I was like, well, then, when you're actually in that mood, when you're actually in that depressed, I don't want to do anything, I don't want to clean my room, it's not just clothes, you also have dishes. So I was like, okay, I can't just put clean dishes everywhere. I'd have to use dirty dishes. So during the title sequence, I don't just have dirty dishes lying around my room. So I had to take dishes out of the dishwasher. I ate lunch thinking of okay, what is my title sequences going to be? And I was like, that could be kind of cool. Let me use the exact cup that I just had used during lunch. I think the top left corner, there's a bowl with a fork in it. That was from my lunch. I had rice and chicken or something, and that was what I ate while I was thinking of how am I going to do my title sequences. Which brings me to my two actors. Being an online student, you are constantly thinking of okay, I need actors for this. Who can I use? Or I need to do this project. How do I find someone who's willing to help me? So my friends and I are adults now. We're in college doing schoolwork, or we have actual jobs trying to make money so that way we can move out on our own. Whatever it may be, we don't have time to just sit around and play video games anymore. We don't have time to make random videos. I needed to find someone who had a schedule that didn't clash with mine. I'm still working a part-time job. All of my friends work conflicting schedules to mine because I like to do my stuff during the day, but they like to work during the day. So it has been a struggle to try and find an actor who had a break in their schedule where this day, the entire day is dedicated to filming. They're either going to come over to my house or I'm going to go to their house, set up lights, and we're just going to film the whole day. We're going to memorize the script. Luckily, my wonderful girlfriend and one of my best friends was able to help. Ashlyn, who plays Sarah, she and I live in the same house. We have, I know her schedule down pat. I know exactly when I can steal her, be like, hey, you're acting for me today. Or, when I can sit on top of her and say, you need to remember your lines, you need to be looking over your script. My other friend Liz was a lot more difficult to do that because she's one of those just wing it people. And I literally had a production meeting between my two actors, Ash and Liz. I did have a third friend. I originally brought her in to be my script supervisor, and her work schedule just ended up conflicting, so I wasn't able to get her on set, but she was a part of the production meeting as the script supervisor, and during the read-throughs, she was saving my butt a lot of times because I'm focusing on the performance. I'm focusing this is a directing class, so do this, do that, do whatever, not the what are they actually saying. So she was so helpful even with that first day. And I was like, how am I going to find the space in my room and make my room dirty but still have room? And Liz was like, just use my room. She was like, it's legitimately dirty. I haven't done laundry in half of a month. So we can just, instead of having it piled up in the corner, we can spread it out wherever you need it to be on camera. And she's like, whatever day we're filming, I'll just take the dishes out of the dishwasher and I'll put them around my room. And I was like, okay, we're not trying to make your room smelly. Very grateful to her. And the glory of Liz's room is it is filled with all sorts of very fun little knickknacks. She's got art, she's got stuffed animals, she's got this cabinet in the back left wall, which you only see for the opening shot when Ash is entering, when Sarah is entering, but there's so much on it, and it looks, to the wide shot angle, it looks like it's just filled with stuff, and you can't tell if it's supposed to be there, if it's decoration, or if it's more clutter. So I was like, if that looks like garbage, and at first I was like, we were debating, should we put dirty dishes there? Like, should we make the tornado be everywhere where this camera can see? And I was like, I don't want it to be too busy to the fact that it's distracting. So we were like, okay, we'll just leave it as is. There's a lot going on. Meanwhile, like, my room's pretty barren. I just don't have a lot of posters up. I just don't have paintings. I don't have decorations. But Liz has all sorts of stuff in there. Just posters, paintings, pictures, drawings, weird, stuffed animals, knickknacks. Like, there's even these, like, tails of, like, an animal. She's got, like, 3 or 4 of them up on the wall. And it's really bizarre, but it's really cool to look at. So I didn't want to, like, make it the emphasis. Like, when we got to dialogue where you're sitting in angles like these, I didn't want it to be in the background and be annoying, be obnoxious, but I wanted it to be busy during that first opening wide shot. And then, like, being a camera operator, I wanted to do more moving shots. I wanted to do more complex things with the camera, but having 2 hands and a boom mic to worry about and lights to get in the way of, like, it's not a real set. We don't have an open wall that goes into the void of blackness. Like, no, it's a closed space with furniture. Some of those laundry props, I had to take photos of it and then move it and then put my camera there or put my light there or whatever it was. I dislike cinematography, which is funny because that's technically the name of the classes that I'm in. But I dislike being a director of photography. Like, I'm a wonderful grip. Tell me what to do and I got you down. But if it's like making that idea, we had the natural lighting from the window because that was something that when it was first an idea in my head before I knew making it into an actual short film, I knew that I wanted the window to be a large point. And while I was writing the script, I was like, what if we put a light just outside the window and crank that baby up? Or I was like, what if we cheat it and we hide the light behind a curtain in my room and we crank that baby up? But luckily, it was raining every single day we filmed. It was raining, but it was still sunshine, like rainy with sunshine in the background. So we never got to film the final walk that the characters talk about going on the entire time since it was raining. But we did get lucky enough to see light coming through the window. And like the first day we filmed, we started too late in the afternoon. We were all tired. We wanted to sleep in. So we started too late in the afternoon, remembering the script, getting through all of the, the mess ups of let me set up the camera, let me do this, let me do that. Like, all of that took way too long. And by the time we ended, it was like 7:00. And by that point, like whatever month we were filming in New Jersey, the sun had already was, basically going down, if not down fully. So the one light that I had set up on the other side of the room to fill in where the darkness was really made it look horrible, honestly. So the second day I went back to film, I was sure to go back earlier in the day, and it was still drizzling, but it was brighter in the room overall. So not having to set up that light, not having to worry about changing it for every scene or making sure that the shadows, it makes it easier for me to focus on the performance. I'm definitely not looking to be a director. Like, I don't want to make that my career path. I feel like it's just too much pressure and, it's really difficult to do. And I'm sure that if I set my mind to it, I could still accomplish it. But I'm satisfied playing with cameras. But working with people was really, really fun. Usually I'm doing these projects all by myself. It's just me with a camera doing whatever it is I'm doing. Like, recording my grandma's backyard for like the title sequences we did forever ago. Or it's just me playing with lights as my family members, like my mom and my uncle, sit in this chair in this exact spot in this living room. It's them while I'm running around playing with lights, making sure the camera's in focus, doing everything around them, and I never really felt involved. So for this project to be, I'm working with actors directly saying, hey, can you work on it like this? Or that's not the exact line. Why don't we try to say something more like this? Or the exact opposite of, I really hate the way that line is written. Why don't we change it to say this instead? Getting to see my friends play with the boom mic. I have so many videos that are labeled BTS, ASMR, whatever they're playing with. There again.
What's the difference between when you have the fuzzy on it versus off?
It's wind. And it kind of, in a way, it like reignites that passion that I had that I was starting to lose while working by myself during the online program. The online program has been really hard for me. I'm a social person. I like playing with my camera, but I like doing it with the first AC. Or if I'm the first AC, I like doing it with the camera op. I like learning with someone else, discovering factors of the camera with another person. So to be by myself, just figuring it out, going along step by step, texting my professor, or very rarely on occasion calling the professor for 2 minutes is really tough for me. It really, like, for as difficult as a time as I was having in Florida with myriad of things, I really do miss that going on set, being around people, working with a crew, and just anytime actors were brought in while I was on an actual physical set, they would always be like, wow, there's so much stuff here, like, this is so cool, this, that, and the other. And it makes you appreciate where you're like, well, that's just a light. That's just a light on a baby stand. And they're just like, I don't know what that means. You know, it makes you excited about it again. So to work with my friends who are like, what's a boom mic? Like for my friends to be like, can you hear this? Because the entire time I was wearing headphones to make sure the quality was good, to make sure there was no disruptions. We were filming in an active house. Downstairs, we would have to pause for dogs barking, or if a car was racing by with really loud music, we would have to pause the production just for a minute. That happens on normal sets too. But I needed to hear to be able to say, is this audio good enough? Or do I need to move the boom mic so the audio is better? So for them to be like, okay, while we're waiting, I want you to tell me what this sounds like. You know, they just wanted to play with stuff. Or even like the really goofy, really funny, like getting close to the camera, getting close to the lens. We do that with our phones all the time, but you can't see it in the top right. Like right now, I see the screen right there. I see myself doing this. In your phone camera, you do that so often, and it's so attached, and that's what you do every day. It's not as fun. Seeing this big fancy setup, seeing, the boom mic, seeing the light, it makes it more interesting. We all watch TV at some point in our life. We all see a movie at least once a year. So to see a little bit into the background of how that exactly happens, it makes it so much more fun. And to do that with my friends, it makes it amazing. So I had to build in the time to know we're going to goof around and we're going to have fun. It's not just another school project. I'm not just writing a document, I'm not just writing a document of this is whatever it is. Like last month I had some silly leadership, emotional intelligence, and it was mundane. It was, taking a test about what type of leader I am and writing about it. Meanwhile, this was using other people and talking and interacting with them, and just getting to learn how to be a director with other people. And it made it a project that was a lot more memorable. And now in the editing process, it's exhausting because darn it, I didn't take as many edits of that, or maybe I should have asked for more from Ash, or maybe Liz just wasn't understanding my direction. Maybe I should have kept going, or found a different way to approach it. It's like a Rubik's Cube. You see it and you're like, how do I figure this out? How do I get to the bottom of it? Working with someone to say, we're going to create this this is something that I'm passionate about, and now you can help me make this into a reality. It's really awesome. So I'm glad that I was able to get outside help, and I was glad that I chose the people that I chose to help me with this project. And I feel like maybe not all 3 or all 2 months that we did it for, but definitely the first recording month, it definitely made me remember why I went to film school in the first place.